So, what's up with all these new GPUs, huh? I just spelled NVIDIA so wrong. I don't know why lately I haven't been able to type. So, as you probably know, yesterday, NVIDIA unveiled their Blackwell cards to the world right here. And I don't think really anyone expected the way that this went. You know, they didn't expect it to go the way it went. It is interesting. So, I mean, basically, they're gonna be decent cards. Um, they're gonna be decent cards. They're decently priced. They're not like egregious. It's not the steal of the century or the steal of the decade like the 1080 Ti was or something like that, or like a 3080 Ti or something. I don't. Was that even really good? Anyways, but who knows what happened, what didn't happen, did happen, or like we'll never know. Maybe they were gonna, release these at like the 5080 at $1,200, how the old 4080 was, or maybe they were planning a little higher, and then maybe at the last minute they knocked it down. We really don't know. We'll never know. And that it's very interesting with these GPUs. Sometimes these prices aren't even finalized until a few hours before, whoever goes out on stage and says, "Here is graphics card. It is this price." Uh and if you want proof of that, AMD just didn't release their graphics cards during their CES keynote. They just straight decided no. And I'm sure from AMD, the reason why is from AMD's perspective, I think this is a really important generation, because the 6000 series was very good, and it only got better and better with time as prices fell of those cards. The 7000 series was a pretty big flop. The high end stuff was pretty compelling. The 7900, the 7800, the XTX was really good. 7900 GRE was really good. But everything below that, ugh. I mean, even the 7800 wasn't like super good. It was mostly like the 7900s, the GRE and the XTX. You're an XT? I always forget. Whatever. I digress. Yeah, that generation was not good, really. The products were fine. It's just the pricing was so whack. Especially like the 7600 was just for such a long time just a dead card. It's like, why would you buy that when you can get a 6800 or a 6800 XT for lots of less money, or the same price ish maybe, for cheaper. But I mean, what they're doing is it's the same. It's still gonna harm their performance in this generation, because like everyone is talking about the 50 series, and you kind of need to have like a product out there that someone during these discussions can like, hey, AMD launched those and those look kind of interesting, and they are not going to be available till February anyways. We knew that ahead of time. They were going to start shipping until February, which I guess really isn't that big of a deal now that I'm thinking about it, because these cards are coming out on January 30th. So it's not like it's that much longer. It's not like it's 2 months, max it's like a month later. So that's not too bad. But I'm thinking that at the last second, AMD was just like, shit. Maybe they had a little bit of insider info, or maybe they had as much info as we did, and they were just really scared of fucking that up, because they really have been burned many times on launching a card. The price is kind of whack. It's not really good enough for people to consider it. And then that's it. No one buys that card. It doesn't matter if you cut the price later. It doesn't really matter, since AMD is in the position that they're in with the market share that they're in. You kind of gotta make that first impression almost. And if you don't do that, then people don't remember it. It kind of fades away from their mind. So I hope that they'll kind of come back swinging, in like a week here, maybe max. I really think that if they go later than that, that's going to be tough. But we know we're getting a 9070 and a 9070 XT, and maybe like a 9600 or something, or a 9060, sorry. Like that, dude. AMD, man. They're just so, they're so clumsy. It just feels like these people are disconnected from the consumer, and the market when it comes to GPUs. It's just fumble after questionable decision, and like, why, honestly, there was nothing really wrong with the 6000 series. I thought they did that pretty well. I don't think anything was like super fumbled there. The 7000 series was just not the best, like I said. And this new 9000 series, already you're releasing later than NVIDIA's cards. You're doing this weird thing where you're not having high-end cards, which is fine, I suppose. Most of the market is at the bottom anyways, the cheaper end. But it leaves a bad impression on a certain amount of people, and a lot of people are sad about it, including me. You do this weird thing where you pull, you don't announce the graphics cards when you're supposed to announce them, and that leads to people, they start speculating. They go, oh, when in reality it's just a pricing thing. They just didn't want to buck up the pricing again, so they're waiting a second, but it still leaves people to speculate and go, So already they're kind of fumbling it. If it's like an okay product, it'll be they will not gain any market share. They will be exactly where they have been for the past 2 generations. For the 9000 series, and that is just in this sort of limbo where people don't even know they exist. Like, dude, I see people on the NVIDIA subreddit literally going like, oh, I'm thinking of getting like a 4070 or with a 4070 Super or whatever. I don't really need all the bells and whistles. I don't really care about the ray tracing. I just want an upgrade. It's been a while. I'm like, dude, you were literally the ideal, perfect fucking AMD customer. You don't care about the cutting edge super whatever DLSS or the cutting edge ray tracing. A lot of the times, I get it. A lot of the times, it's not that noticeable, or the performance it isn't worth it. I get that. I get that more than anyone. Dude, why wouldn't you just save a little bit of money and buy the fucking AMD card? You can get more FPS for less money. It's just, these people don't know about these cards. They literally don't even know about it, dude. And people are like, yeah, get the 4070. Get the 40. It's just, it hurts to watch, dude, because it's just illogical, at that point. It just straight doesn't make sense at all. Like, I have gotten all of my friends, I've talked about this before, I've gotten all of my friends AMD GPUs just because, dude, they don't, like, I'm fucking sitting here telling them what graphics settings to change, They don't fucking know. People don't understand or let alone give a shit about fucking, why is that black? Oh, there it is. People don't give a shit about ray tracing or fucking slightly better shadows. They don't notice a slight difference in shadow resolution. Like, people don't notice this stuff, and I can't necessarily blame them for noticing this stuff or not noticing this stuff. I do think people are fucking blind a lot of the times, but I do understand that if you don't have a reasonable even idea of what some of these settings do, that you're just playing the game. You're not looking for this, so you don't even notice the difference. I can't blame people for that. It's just, I don't know. At the end of the day, people just want to play their fucking video games at reasonable FPS, and everyone knows about FPS because they can feel it. But it is what it is. Who knows, dude? This 90 series is a complete black box right now. We know nothing about the performance. Like, even less so than, because the NVIDIA GPU is always the CUDA cores leak and the memory speeds leak and stuff. That doesn't happen for AMD GPUs, really. Like, the VRAM might, but any sort of gauge maybe on performance doesn't really happen. So who knows? Pricing is also a big question mark. This 9070, if it could be like a 6900 XT equivalent maybe, or like that would put it in line with like maybe a 7800 XT or something around there for like 450 maybe like 480, some weird shit like that. Who knows? That's probably wishful thinking. But if they could do that, that would be interesting. And then, I don't know. But going back to, what is this generation called? Blackwell. There was a lot of interesting stuff in this. It was very interesting. And I actually ordered a 7900 XTX from Newegg because I had really, really, really low hopes about NVIDIA. But I will be returning that. Hopefully Newegg doesn't fuck with me. But I will be returning that 7900 XTX. I'm not even going to open it, just to maximize my chances of Newegg not fucking my ass. And the big thing is, I think that my approximations with this uh, generation in terms of performance was about correct. I was like, okay, it'll be 10 to 15% better than something like a 4080 Super, so it'll be like, you know, maybe at the best, in the best case, like 20% better than a 4080, a 5080 will be. Or, you know, like 18%, like 15, 18, you know, somewhere in there. That's looking like that's going to be correct. This isn't like a super ultra step forward, because this is not some like complete ground up redesign of the architecture. It's iteration. They fixed some things, redid some things. And then obviously software. So that looks to be right, and that's what I was calculating and banking on when I pressed order on that 7900 XTX. But what I did not predict was the pricing. And like I was saying earlier, I mean, there's no way to know what the pricing was and how they sort of changed the conversation with that internally over time. But if you have not seen it, it's probably not even on here. If you have not seen it, it's going to be whatever. It's going to be $550 for the 5070. It's going to be like $700 or $750 for a 5070 Ti. It's going to be $999 for a 5080, and it's going to be $2,000 for a 5090. So obviously 5090 is in another fucking plane of existence, I guess. I have to say it, the 5070 it's DOA, dude. Dude, it's DOA. Like, for real, you know? I don't care what people say. I don't care how they cope. I don't care. I thought there was going to be some bigger thing to, like, save VRAM in this. It really wasn't. Basically, they said when people are developing games, they can implement some new technology to compress textures, NVIDIA technology, but that doesn't help with previous games, and I don't know if anyone's going to, you know, 100% use that. You know how people are nowadays with optimizing games. They don't like to do that. So 12 gigs, bro, even on the 5070 Ti, that's man, people were already listen. A year ago, like a year ago ish, people were making the argument that it can play it fine, like every single game. Like maybe there's like, dude, there's only like one game or something. Blah blah blah. It's fine. And at that time, a reasonable person would say, okay, but what about a little bit into the future? Like a little tiny bit into the future. These are expensive graphics cards. They're very powerful graphics cards. A 4070, you know, a 4070 Ti or Super, whatever the fuck. Very powerful graphics card. It is very stupid that this powerful, the die of the graphics card, the actual graphics processing unit, can process these games. It can run these games at very good FPS, very good resolutions, but then it hits that VRAM limit, and then it's crippled, you know? And then it doesn't matter how many FPS, how fast the card is. It's being limited by that VRAM. It doesn't matter how fast that GDDR6X is. It hit the limit, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how fast the GDDR7 is in these cards. It hits the limit, and then it can't be, your frame time goes to shit. Fast forward like a year and a half maybe, we now have like 4 or 5 good examples at 1440p, not even talking about 4K, where it just runs out of VRAM. And the fact that, like, okay, those are the previous generation cards, right? Those should maybe hold out until people can upgrade. Maybe you would cope and say this. But NVIDIA's doing it again with this 5070 and 5070 Ti. So it's now even a more powerful GPU that is only, like, give it another year, man. And I think we're really, that 4 or 5 games, that could double the 10, Give it another 6 months, that could be like 10 or 13 games, It's just, this thing is just, it's a reasonable price. 550 is a reasonable price. But if you have to get a new GPU, like, we're at the point with this 5070 and this 5070 Ti where I don't think it's gonna make it through this whole generation. You know what I'm saying? If the RTX 4000 series release date. So this came out in 2022. It is now, it came out in September. So, I mean, just call it basically 2023, 2024. So it was like I'm not good at math, but, Well, I mean, if you look at this, it was really a staggered release, huh? So, like, January, just to make it easy. Yeah, so about 2 years. It was about 2 years and some change. I do not think that we will make it to the 6000 series without people having running into some serious limitations with this 4070 and 4070 Ti in terms of VRAM. I think that's going to be very real. We've already been seeing it a lot. There's been a lot of coverage of it. And I know it's only going to get worse because it ain't sure as hell ain't going to get better. As Unreal 5, as more Unreal 5 games come out with Nanite and shit and stuff like that, it's just only going to get worse, So, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I do know. It's just going to get worse. And it just sucks because this is a good GPU otherwise, It's a reasonable uptick. It seems fast. It's relatively affordable. It's not like gouging pricey. I just don't understand why they did that. But onto a better product, the 5080. The thing that I wasn't anticipating was the price, like I said. I paid $900 after taxes. It was like $840, I think, for my 7900 XTX. The 7900 XTX is on par with a 4080 Super, and this is about 15% faster. This 5080 is about 15% faster than a 4080 Super. So give it like a 20% bump from the 4080 to the 5080. So from my 7900 XTX that I could have had, it would have been, about a 15% bump. In my mind, I was like, okay, I can't justify a 15% bump to performance-ish for potentially $1,300, $1,400, even $1,200. I don't want to spend like $400-ish more dollars on 15%, That didn't make sense to me. However, spending like $160 more on a 15% performance bump, and then on top of that, you get DLSS 4 and frame generation. I'm not likely to use the frame generation because I'll have to try NVIDIA's if I can get my hands on one of these, but I'm pretty sensitive to input lag. I come from a Counter-Strike background. That was like the first game I ever played on computer, and I played the ever-living hell out of it. And then there were so many other competitive FPS games that I played after that. So I'm very sensitive to input lag. So I'm sure I'll use it here and there, maybe at 1x, maybe 2x, just if I'm feeling crazy. And I'm very interested to, for me, it's more like it's a tech demo rather than I'm actually going to use it. DLSS, of course, I will obviously use a lot, especially now that it's gotten a lot better, or reasonably better. And, I'll turn on some ray tracing here and there. That's definitely worth $160. $999 for this class of GPU isn't terrible. Not terrible. That's what the RX 6900 XT came out at back in 2020, and that was a good benchmark product that had a good amount of good VRAM. It had good performance. It competed with around the 3080-ish at the time, So, sort of an 80 class card. This is in line, and I wasn't expecting it. So I'm gonna pray that I can get my hands on one of these. It's not the end of the world if I can't, honestly. So what it's gonna look like for me is I'm gonna cancel, or I'm gonna return my Newegg order. The 7900 XTX, I'm gonna return it. And then I'm going to... I think the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna stand in line at Micro Center and hope that they have some. There were some reports that both AMD and NVIDIA are they're really trying to crank this shit, you know what I'm saying? Because of the fear of tariffs, obviously. That is the big unknown. Thank you, Donald Trump. And who knows, who fucking knows what Donald Trump is thinking? I'm like, I don't care. I really don't care much about politics. The world will go on. I'm not one of these people who are like, the world is over. This was the most important election of our life. I think that is recency bias at its greatest. And also, I think that is very falling victim to the media on both sides, fucking going, being all crazy and shit. I promise the world will go on. However, I will be kind of pissed off if that motherfucker makes my GPU more expensive. And of course, like everything else, every other electronic, more expensive. So we'll see. Who knows? Who fucking knows? It's not even worth thinking about, honestly, kind of. But I'm thinking about just doing that. I'm thinking about giving myself January 30th off. Maybe the 29th as well. Who knows, Or, if I, on the 29th, if I go get off at 10 p.m. or something, I can go drive up to Micro Center and be a freak and sleep outside or some shit. You never know. It sounds fun, so why not? And I can't remember. I know back when the 30 series was out, that was. I think things have changed back then. I really wasn't paying attention for the 4000 series or the 7, the RX 7000 series. I really wasn't paying attention because I was very content with my 6900 XT. So I was just not even thinking about it. I don't think many people do that. I don't think many people really stand in line out at the Micro Center. I also don't think they'll have that many cards, but if you I am at I am crazy, okay? And I have the flexibility in my life to do dumb shit, like stand in line. So, you gotta think if you're standing in line for a good, like 12-ish hours or something, or, whatever, 8 hours before they open, maybe you'll be able to get one, It sounds fun. So why not? Who knows what their stuff is gonna look like really, but thank God I got myself a Micro Center near me. Well, relatively near me. It's only like a half an hour drive. Yeah. So we'll see about that because I really do not have much of much confidence in in getting one online. I don't know how Best Buy does their shit anymore. I don't fucking know. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think it's just like there's a lot less competition, right? Versus the entire internet versus just the metro-ish Detroit area. Like how many people are fucking nerds enough to come and stand in line for a fucking $1,000 graphics card at kind of a niche store already. I don't know. What the fuck? What did I just type? They don't have any. What? Why do they sell the RX 550? What even is this? Where am I? Look at this shit, man. Wait, what? Why does this... Huh? You see what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. They for the 7000 series, they also pulled some whack ass shit with the VRAM too. So you didn't have that going for them. Not the 1355U. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's very interesting. Talking a little bit more about the actual like technology, the stuff that they announced. It wasn't just like we're gonna make AI scan your ass when you're working in the Amazon factory, and then it's gonna like give a report to your boss on how you can make it more efficient. When they weren't talking about that, spend a lot of time on the frame gen stuff. I think it's very cool. I think it's very, 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 very interesting that they can even do this, and like it, even if it kind of works, it's impressive. I will say, very impressive. Like having one generating your graphics card generating 1 FPS and then somehow being able to get 3 frames per second for that. 3 AI frames from that 1 frame. It doesn't make any sense, to be honest with you. So that is very cool. I mean, these numbers are fucking crazy. But like, as you can see here, I think the people are saying this graph is a little wonk. I mean, if this is 1x, like what? Is this 1 point, like what? You'd have to say this is like 1.5 right here, so there's like 1.3 with ray tracing on. It's not like Far Cry has the most ray tracing, but it's a level playing field. So this is your 15% right here, Plague Tale Requiem only supports DLSS 3. So this is also just sort of a, it's the same. And then see, obviously things get crazy once they introduce the AI frames into the fucking mix. They also, I think Digital Foundry put it the best, where they basically said, or who was it? No, it was actually Hardware Unboxed, I think. Hardware Unboxed put it the best, and they said, so it's not, I agree with them is what I'm trying to say. The frame generation stuff is cool, but I don't think it's as practical as something like, just general DLSS improvements. Reducing ghosting and better ray reconstruction and better models to put everything back together. If I go to YouTube, how to build Lego Rocket? No way. What was it? Dude. I mean, yeah, so let's see. Just to look at some footage. What's impressive about this, about all of this stuff, is that this isn't performance. It's 4K performance. But, that is the one thing that AMD just, they can't. I don't know. It's never impressed me. I've almost never, I literally think I've used FSR like once, maybe twice, because it's not good. you know, at 1440p at least. I think at 4K it's fine. It works well, you know, when that internal resolution, the base resolution is at above 1080p. But when you're working with 1080p going to like 1440p, it just doesn't work that well. And I'm kind of a 1440p gamer, so obviously you can see like artifacting, and I don't know if this artifacting is from the frame gen or the DLSS. I think it's maybe a little bit from both. Maybe mostly the frame gen. Like this is still, I mean that's the old version though. And like, though this is obviously improved, it's not, it's still ghosty, you know. The hell of a lot better than that though. But you still get a little bit of it. Yeah. Wait. Did we have two different things there? DLS super resolution. Performance mode. Yeah, like it's still there, you know. There really is so much you can do, but it's like, it's a lot better, you know. For me, at least at 1440p, uh, you know, ultra quality FSR has always been, or upscaling has always been the way to go. Any nuclear fuel fanatic worth his salt knows thorium is the only element for the job. Okay. Having some nuclear conversation in the motherfucking Discord server. But I think that wraps up basically all of my thoughts about these new graphics cards. Oh god. It's interesting. I'm reasonably happy. You know, if I don't get a 5080, then I'll just keep my 6900 XT until I happen to stumble across one. I'm not gonna play this game again of buying scalped cards and shit. I lost a good amount of money on that during 2020, but those were the dark times. And I had nothing else to spend my money on. So, you help me. Best drywall anchor. So yeah. Uh it is interesting. What's the 7th? Oh well. Okay, goodbye.